Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to a moment that unfolded with all the fire and fury of a political drama, a moment that's now etched into the history of American television. It was a live broadcast, prime time, the nation watching with bated breath as the unexpected unfolded. Donald J. Trump, former president and perennial firebrand, found himself at the center of attention once again, but not for reasons he anticipated. What was supposed to be another opportunity for him to flex his bravado and command the spotlight turned into an unforgettable reckoning, led by none other than Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Now, if you know anything about Jasmine Crockett, you know she doesn't come lightly. A sharp mind, a fearless tongue, and an unwavering sense of purpose, she's a rising Democratic star who's not afraid to confront power, no matter how loud or gilded it may seem. And that night, on live television, with millions watching, she did just that. The debate had already grown tense. Trump, as always, loud and unapologetic, trying to bulldoze his way through every question with half-truths, finger-pointing, and well-practiced outrage. But Crockett wasn't having it. As Trump launched into one of his trademark tirades, throwing out accusations and inflated claims, Crockett sat, calm at first, then increasingly resolute. And when a moment came, she didn't raise her voice, she raised the bar. With a precision that cut through the noise like a scalpel, she challenged Trump's record, not just politically, but morally. She laid out his failures one after the other: the economy that left working class people behind, the mishandling of the pandemic, the erosion of democratic norms, the endless stream of lies that characterized his administration. But she didn't stop there. She looked him dead in the eye and asked the question that left the studio in stunned silence. Mr. Trump, if leadership is about truth, service, and accountability, can you tell the American people when exactly you started serving anyone other than yourself? Trump froze. For a man so accustomed to controlling the room, to dominating every exchange with bluster and bravado, this was unfamiliar terrain. And what followed was a moment so raw, so unscripted, it shattered the illusion he tries so hard to maintain. He laughed nervously at first, tried to deflect with a joke, then turned defensive, lashing out not just at Crockett, but at the moderators, the media, the entire setup. "This is a trap," he barked. "She's a nobody. I've done more than she ever will." But the more he ranted, the smaller he seemed. Because Crockett, unfazed, calmly leaned in and said, "Sir, the American people aren't looking for a circus. They're looking for answers. They're looking for courage, and tonight you've shown them neither." And that was it. Trump lost control. He slammed his hand on the podium. "This is disgraceful. You people are all corrupt," he shouted, his face flushed red with rage. The cameras kept rolling. Crockett, meanwhile, stood cool and composed, the very image of leadership, while Trump spiraled. The footage went viral within minutes. Clips of the exchange dominated social media. Hashtags exploded. Late-night hosts couldn't believe what they'd seen. And in households across America, people who had long grown weary of the noise saw something they hadn't seen in a long time: a public figure standing up to Trump and not blinking, not dodging, not backing down. Political commentators tried to spin it every which way, but one thing was clear. Crockett had not only held her own, she had dismantled him, live for all to see. It wasn't just a political moment. It was a cultural reckoning, a changing of the guard. In the days that followed, Trump's team went into damage control mode, claiming bias, conspiracy, anything they could to explain away the humiliation. But the public had already seen it. They'd seen the tantrum, they'd seen the unraveling, and most importantly, they'd seen the rise of a new voice, one that didn't come wrapped in bravado, but in truth. Because in the end, the moment wasn't just about Trump losing his temper. It was about what it revealed: that the old tactics, shouting louder, playing the victim, rewriting reality, were no longer enough. That a new generation of leaders was here, and they weren't afraid of the old playbook. So yes, Donald Trump threw a tantrum that night. He showed the world his fragility, his inability to face criticism, his desperation to cling to relevance. But Jasmine Crockett showed something else. She showed grace under pressure. She showed strength not through volume, but through truth. And in doing so, She reminded us all that leadership isn't about showmanship, it's about substance. And that, more than anything, is what America needed to see. The key moment that defined the entire exchange between Donald Trump and Jasmine Crockett was when she calmly, without theatrics, looked him in the eye and asked, "Mr. Trump, if leadership is about truth, service, and accountability, can you tell the American people when exactly you started serving anyone other than yourself?" That question didn't just pierce the tension in the room, it shattered the illusion that Trump could keep coasting on charisma, bravado, and his usual bag of rhetorical tricks. It was not just a question, it was a public indictment, and it worked, not because it was loud or insulting, but because it was grounded in truth and clarity. It struck at the heart of everything Trump has worked so hard to avoid: personal responsibility. In that one sentence, Crockett exposed the foundation of Trump's political persona as nothing more than a self-serving performance. For years, Trump has thrived on evading accountability, spinning narratives that shift blame to others: the media, immigrants, Democrats, even his own advisors. He's built a fortress of ego and spectacle, and for the most part, it has worked. His followers bought into it, his party often backed him, and many in the media, even when critical, helped amplify his every move. But what Crockett did was bypass the noise. She didn't attack him with insults. She didn't play his game. Instead, she asked a question every American, whether they support him or not, has likely thought at some point: who does he really serve? It was not rhetorical, it was surgical, and the power of that question lay in the silence that followed. Trump, so used to steamrolling over critics, stumbled. He looked caught, like a man who had been finally asked something he couldn't dodge without giving himself away. He tried, of course. He deflected, changed the subject, attacked her credentials, the moderators, even the format of the debate. But everyone watching knew he didn't have an answer, because there isn't one, at least not one, that he's ever given honestly. That question, "When did you start serving anyone other than yourself?" brought everything into focus. It forced viewers to reflect on Trump's entire political arc, from the golden escalator to the Oval Office to the January 6th insurrection to a debate stage where he stood visibly shaken, reduced to name, calling, and outbursts. The moment showed that the emperor has no clothes, and for once, the cameras didn't look away. In the past, many opponents have tried to take Trump down with clever jabs or policy critiques. They've written op-eds, delivered floor speeches, tweeted memes. But few have succeeded in breaking through the mythos he built around himself. Crockett succeeded because she didn't attack the myth. She asked him to explain it, and he couldn't. That's what made her question so devastating. It exposed not just a man, but a movement that has centered itself around image over substance. It was a mirror held up not just to Trump, but to the millions who still believe he represents something bigger than himself. And in that moment, even they had to pause. People often talk about turning points in politics, lines in the sand, moments that change trajectories. That one question may very well be remembered as one of them. Because it wasn't a sound bite engineered for applause. It was real, and that's why it spread like wildfire, not because it was clever, but because it was true. Social media picked it up instantly. YouTube clips of the moment hit millions of views within hours. Commentators across the political spectrum had to acknowledge the gravity of what had just happened. Some tried to spin it, suggesting Crockett was disrespectful or rehearsed. But most saw it for what it was: a leader speaking truth to power, and doing so without fear. And Trump's response, a full-blown meltdown, only confirmed the impact. He didn't just fumble a debate, he unraveled on live television. His credibility took a hit, not from a scandal or a headline, but from a simple, piercing question he couldn't answer. That's what real accountability looks like. Not screaming matches, not partisan mudslinging, a single, well-aimed demand for truth. And Crockett didn't gloat. She didn't laugh or clap back. She just waited. She let the silence do the work, because she knew, as many now do, that the moment didn't need drama. It spoke for itself. The aftermath was swift, Pundits who had written off younger progressives started reassessing. Voters who felt numb to political theater perked up. Even people who had tuned in expecting the usual spectacle walked away feeling like they'd witnessed something different. Authenticity, clarity, courage. Crockett's question wasn't just aimed at Trump. It was aimed at a system that has too often rewarded showmen and punished truth tellers, and for once the truth teller won. In the end, the moment wasn't just about humiliating Trump. That would be too small a goal. It was about something deeper, revealing the truth in a way that no amount of shouting or spin could cover up. Trump's tantrum was proof of how much that truth hurt. But Crockett's composure and her question will be remembered long after the yelling fades. Because leadership isn't about dominating a stage, it's about asking the hard questions and standing firm when the answers never come.